In this video you will learn what is Angular Portal, Angular Overlay, and how to use them together to implement things like models or tooltips. And one thing which is extremely difficult to do inside Angular is dynamic components and rendering some components inside body. This is what we typically want to do, for example, for models or tooltips, so they are not being cutted with overflow hidden. Inside React by default we are getting portals, which is an extremely simple feature and it allows you to render any component inside body. We can't do that inside Angular, but we are getting something similar from Angular material. As you can see here, there is a CDK, so not a component, CDK from Angular material, portal, and also overlay. The main idea is portal allows us to render dynamic components like markup, component or template. Let's have a look on the example. I can click here to render a component portal, and this is a component, here is a template portal, and here is a DOM portal. And this is how this code is working. As you can see here, there are three buttons with on click, and we're setting in selected portal either component portal or template portal or DOM portal. So what is a component portal? You can see here, this is a portal example test component. So this component on the top, which is just a component with a template inside. So it allows us to render dynamically any component by providing it inside. And exactly the same with the template. As you can see, template portal is taking our template portal content from ng template, and DOM portal simply takes some DOM node. As you can see, this is DOM portal content, which is just a div. And as you can see here, to instantiate them, we're using new component portal, and we're throwing inside a component, or new template portal with template and view content ref, or DOM portal, and we're throwing DOM inside. So basically this CDK allows you to implement dynamic component rendering in Angular with extremely simple API. Without Angular material is really tedious and difficult to support, and you need to write lots of code. Now let's look on the overlay example. As you can see here, I can click open and we're getting this list. But most importantly, when we're inspecting this list, you can see that it is situated inside body. And this is exactly what we want. We want to render some content outside of our application. And let's look on our overlay component. As you can see, this is our component. We have here our list, but it is packed inside ng template. We have here a button, and when we're clicking, we're setting is open to true. And when it is opened, then we have here CDK overlay origin and trigger CDK overlay origin plus this connected overlay. So these things are binded together, and when we're clicking on the button and this is open property is in true, we will render this ng template inside overlay. This is exactly what you can see on the screen. So we can control our overlay, which is in body, from our component. And now I want on the real example to show you how to use them together in order to build a model. And model is an amazing example because first of all we want to render it inside body, so we are not cutting it with overflow hidden, and secondly it must have some dynamic content inside, like for example a component or a template. And as you can see here inside app model, I created a file model component.ts and less file. Inside less I have all styles. I won't talk about them. If you want to take them, you can just download them in the description box below. But inside our TS we have just an empty component with nothing in the template. So the main idea is that this is our reusable model component, which will render some dynamic information inside our overlay, so inside body. And here I want to write ng template and use here a directive CDK Portal. And in order for this directive to work, we must inject portal module here in the imports. Now inside we can write normal markup of our model, for example div with class model. And inside we will have header and content. So here will be modal header and also modal content. Inside our header we need some dynamic title. This is why here we can add ng content with select, so this will be our slot. And here we want to put modal header. And let's close our ng content. And after this we will have a button to close our model. So we need here a click event, and we need to close our model. So the main question is, what will we call when we are closing a button? Most importantly is our model is stateless, it doesn't really know when it should be rendered. So our component, which will use a model, must define itself when we're rendering model and when not. Which actually means what I want to do here is provide an output, which will be close model, and this is new event emitter with void, because we are not providing any data outside. Now here on our click, I want to just call close model with emit, and we will give this close event to our component so we can close it there. Exactly in the same way, I want to provide a slot model body inside our content, and actually here the class should be model body, not model content. So the main idea is that we build our model and we have here a dynamic header and a dynamic body. And your question is for sure, what does this directive CDK Portal do? Because we didn't talk about it. And as you can see here in the documentation, CDK Portal simply creates a portal through ng template. So it's no magic, it's not component, it's new template. So this is this part that you can see here. This is why what we want to do, we want to get access to this portal. So here we can use viewChild, and we're reading here our CDK Portal, and we're getting a value portal of type either CDK Portal or undefined. Additionally, we need here an overlay from Angular material. So let's inject here our overlay, and we can create here an overlay config. So with overlay config, we can specify how exactly our overlay will look like and where it will be positioned. So here we can assign new overlay config, and inside we need to provide some options. First of all, has backdrop true. So this is the background under our model. Then we have here position strategy, and we want to use this overlay.position, and we want to call here global and center horizontally and center vertically, because we want to center our overlay. Also we want here scroll strategy, which will be this overlay.scrollstrategies.block. And the last one is min width. Let's set it to 500. So this is our overlay config that we want to use, and now we can create overlay reference, and we're doing that by calling this overlay create, and we're providing inside our config, so this overlay config. Now overlay reference is exactly what we want to create and destroy. This is why inside ng-init we want to listen to this overlay reference dot backdrop click. It means that user clicked outside of the model and we want to close our model. So here we can write a subscribe and we have a success, and we want to just call close model.emit. So this is the callback of the backdrop, and additionally here we want to add our overlay. So we need ng after view init, and inside we will call this overlay reference, and it can be undefined, so question mark dot attach, and we want to attach inside this portal. So with this single line we are attaching our dynamic portal to overlay, and additionally we need ng on destroy. And just to remind you, this component should not destroy itself, it will be destroyed from the parent, but here we want to destroy an overlay. This is why overlay reference dot detach, and also this overlay reference dot dispose. This will completely remove our overlay, and then our component is responsible for destroying model. Now let's look on our component which will use our model. As you can see, our component is appchild. We inject it inside modal component. This is what we just created, and also content component. As you can see, content component is situated here on the top. This is just some component with the variable, so you can see that we can render also components inside the model. And this is our template. We have just h2 child and then a button with click open model. As you can see, by default we have a variable is model opened set to false, and with open model we're setting it to true, and we have a close model function where we're setting it back to false. So now we want to render here our model that we just created. It will be a nap model, and here we're adding ng-if is model opened, because we just want to render it when this variable is set to true. Now inside we're creating two ng containers, one for the header and one for the content. So here will be model header, And inside we can write some content. For example, this is our header. And now we can do exactly the same for our body. And here let's write this is our body. And this is actually it. This is how we're using our model. Let's look in browser. Here we have our child, open model. I'm clicking on it, and as you can see, our model appeared. We have our backdrop. We have close button. When I'm clicking on backdrop, our model must be closed. It did not happen because we didn't trigger this close model. So on our app model, we need to add an event, close model, and we're calling here our close model function. Let's check again. I'm clicking open model, I'm clicking on backdrop, and our model is not there. Most importantly here, if we're inspecting our model, you can see that it is situated inside overlay in the body, which actually means this code created for us, first of all, a dynamic component where we passed body and header, and secondly, it was binded to the overlay. And now, most importantly, we want to check that inside our body, we can render a component. This is why here on the top, we can use our app content component, and let's check if it will be rendered. I'm clicking here, and inside content we're getting hello user foo, which is exactly the correct behavior. Overlay and Portal are really good, but if you are interested to know how some components are working inside Angular material, for example pagination, make sure to check this video because I already covered that there.